it was at that moment that I realized, oh, I need to probably either increase my income or I need to cut back on some expenses. I was not confident at all, like at all, because I know now that I will always have money. I will always make money. I will always learn how to increase my income at every single point and every single stage in my life. There are usually times when I look back on my 20s and I'm like, you probably could have done a much better job at that. But I don't regret them. I have some very good memories in my 20s. I learned a lot of lessons in my 20s. But there are also some things that I wish I knew in my 20s and also in my 30s that I probably could have maximized on much sooner. So if you're in your 20s and you're watching this video and you're trying to like navigate it, or even if you're in your 30s, your early 30s, I'm 38, and you're trying to navigate your 30s better, or you're starting a new chapter like myself, you're starting a new chapter, or you're looking forward to starting a new decade, here are some things that I probably will do differently, or I probably would have told my younger self. Welcome to this video. If you're brand new here, my name is Mae Alice. I create lifestyle content, so grab yourself a cup of wine or some tea and let's dive right in. And if you're a returning subscriber, bonjour, or welcome back. I'm so happy that you're still on this journey with me. So a decade can create like a whirlwind of opportunities for us. Like you can have so many things coming at you, so many opportunities. The world changes all the time, but usually when you're at like a number like 20s, 30s, 40s, we usually reflect on how we could have done things differently. So here are a few things that I wish that I would have told I would have told my younger self, or I wish I had known sooner, that would have helped me maximize my life better, or maximize that decade better. So number one, I would have embraced change and embraced risk. I had so many opportunities in my 20s to study abroad, to move abroad, but I was never a risk taker. I've always been someone who loved to play it safe until now. In my 30s, like I am open to more risks. I'm open to saying yes to more opportunities, even though there will be a lot of challenges in there. But my mindset now is totally different. In my 20s, I had the opportunity to study nursing or to study biomedical engineering or to move abroad to a different country. They were all coming at me, but I was afraid. I was afraid of change. I was afraid of routine. I was afraid of the unknown. And I didn't know anyone in those places. So that's a given. That's okay. I was just like playing it safe. Now in my 30s, in my early 30s, I probably would have taken those risks a little bit more. But in my early 30s was the era of, you know what, the big C word. I'm now at a point in my life where I'm looking at all these opportunities right now. So if you're given opportunities to like move abroad, to work in a different region, to study in a different region, and you have been like on the fence of it and you have that opportunity, I will say that if you feel that you want it, even if you're not comfortable with it, definitely figure out how can you like take that step. How can you embrace that change? Prepare yourself for that. Jump into it. Was a little bit afraid or hesitant of that because I felt like I would leave behind everything that I know, and it's not easy to uproot everything that you do have to start fresh. So in my 40s, God willing, that is one thing that I'm so looking forward to, and that is to like start new chapters and to embrace change and embrace risk more. Like I'm starting it now and I'm happy that I'm doing it like in my late 30s. But if you're in your 20s or your early 30s and you have been thinking about it, learn to embrace that, because sometimes there's a lot of rewards that are waiting for you at that next stage. The second thing that I do wish that I did in my 20s was to build meaningful relationships. Oh my goodness. One thing that I do realize is that a lot of the relationships that I had in my 20s, I don't have any of them except maybe like 3. A lot of the relationships that I had in my 20s, And these were really weren't relationships where they were like party. They were relationships that I created in the later stage of my 20s, which was when I started to actually realize that, hey, I can no longer live life like this. I can no longer be partying all the time. I can no longer be drinking. Well, I wasn't a heavy drinker, but I used to party like almost every single weekend, every week. And I knew that I wanted to change that. And I started to change that in, I believe I was like 26 thereabout. That was when I decided to course correct my life. And as I get older, I've realized that it is much more difficult to create new friendships. I can create the acquaintances very easily, but like the deep, meaningful relationships, like the deep, meaningful friendships, that is a little bit challenging. So I do have, like, on one hand, probably like one hand, about those close, deep friendships that we can talk about goals, we can talk about life, we can talk about relationships, we can talk about success, etc. And I love that. But we all have different interests. We all have different interests and we all have different lives. So sometimes the challenging thing is to get persons to have those same likes and dislikes and experiences with you. That can be a little bit more of a challenge. So in my 30s, my late 30s, this is one of the things that I'm definitely focusing on, and that is to build more meaningful relationships. Because it's not impossible, it is possible, just more challenging, but it definitely is possible. So if you're in your 20s and you realize that your friendship circle are very, what's the word I'm looking for? Surface level, like there's no depth in it, they probably will not last you the lifetime, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Everyone has their own journeys, everyone has their own chapters that they have to discover. But if your goal is to make sure that you have a lifetime of friendships like the Golden Girls, I have two very, very close friends, but we have known each other since we were like 19, and I probably was 21, like 19, not 21, I was 18 years old, like 18, 19, 20s. So in our teens, and we've remained close friends to date. These are not things that you will get this is very, very rare. But if you want to have like a circle that you can have different types of experiences in terms of maybe like going to dinners or having brunches, etc., or like talking about other things like in like different interests that you probably have, like investing, etc., and they don't have those interests, now might be the best time for you to begin to cultivate those. So do like a friendship circle check and analyze your friends and see whether or not this is a relationship that you think you should probably invest a lot more energy and effort into, as opposed to those that you can say, you know what, I like that we're friends, but I don't think that it's going to be like a long-term thing. We can remain acquaintances long-term, but if you want like that deep, solid bond, you definitely have to do that check. That's for sure. And it might be painful, but that's just the nature of life. The third thing that I do, which I would have done in my 20s, was to invest in myself more. In my 30s, I definitely invested in myself a lot more in terms of like coaching and success and workshops and networking. That was the period of time when I actually developed that type of network. And I discovered a lot of people, made a lot of connections, and I started to actually realize that, okay, well, you know what, I need to like change my direction in terms of like goals or whatever it was, because my goal was not to be in business world, my goal was to be in the medical world. So I learned in my 30s that it was okay to redirect. So in my 30s, from the beginning of my 30s, like my late 20s into now, I have always invested in myself. So investing just in yourself is not just like the surface layer. I talk a lot about style on here, like your self-image, how you present yourself, because it's one of the things that I definitely learned has an impact on how people view you, on how you present yourself, on how successful you are perceived. And I will tell you one recurring thing that I get all the time. I don't take it as an insult, but every time someone meets me, oh, from the way that I dress, I'm always told that I'm bougie. Always. The way it's just so, it's very interesting, but it's just a testament of how just changing your wardrobe, changing the way that you present yourself can definitely create a perception in other people's mind. Just think about that. If you're not sure where to begin, I have a ton of videos on here on how to start a capsule wardrobe. You could definitely dive into those. But investing in yourself is not just about the surface layer. It's about the mindset, it's about the attitude, whether it is in your career. I've invested in my career, I've invested in going back to school in my late 30s. Like, it's scary, but it's exciting at the same time, and I'm learning a lot of things that I probably would not know if I didn't redirect my path. Investing in yourself in terms of healthcare, in terms of finances. This is one area that I definitely learned to do in my 30s, like actually buying shares in companies, not just like stocks on the stock market, like quick trade, but like actual shares in companies and owning a part of that company. Doing that in my late 30s has been one of the most exciting things. So think about ways that you can invest in yourself right now while you're young. So if you have to save more money or create a type of account that is more like a retirement account or a home starter account or whatever it is, whatever your goals are, or you want to go back to school, or you want to change your career path, or you want to work on your health more, exercising, or your wardrobe, etc., whatever it is, like really identify ways that you can invest in yourself for the long term, because now is the absolute best time to do that. So I have a video on how to make sure that your 2025 is your best year ever, where I talk about doing a situation analysis and your objectives and your actions, etc. I will also link that in the description box for you. This video is going to really help you like set the foundation for that. Dive into it. Finish watch this video, but dive into it afterwards. But investing in myself in my late 30s have been one of the most rewarding things that I have done for myself. I definitely wish that I had the resources to do it in my 20s. Unfortunately, I did not. And also resources in terms of like financial, but also knowledge, like knowing what to research, knowing who to search for the answers, like who to search for online, like what to watch. This came to me more in my 30s. So if you're in your 20s, definitely figure that out right now so that you can have an earlier head start, because it definitely is going to create a lasting impression on you and your success in the long term. Speaking of financial, I learned financial literacy in my 30s. And not just budgeting, like simple budgeting, but managing money. One of the things that I always used to be afraid of was to get a credit card, because I used to think, like, I used to hear a lot of, oh, if you have a credit card, you're gonna be in debt, you're gonna like max it out, etc. And I always had that fear of getting a credit card. And I remember when I took one of my first loans, my very, very first loan that I took, I was told I wanted to buy one thing. I was like, it would be cheaper or better for me to take a loan as opposed to getting it higher purchase, because higher purchase I would pay a lot more interest in it as opposed to paying the bank back in a smaller loan. I remember walking into the office, having the appointment, walking to the loans officer's office, and I just started a new job as well. That was 12 years ago, to be exact. 12 years ago, it was around June. I had just moved into an apartment, and she told me, well, we can't give you what you want, you have to take more. And I was like, but I don't want more, I just want this amount to buy that. And she's like, well, you have to take more. And so I said, okay, you know what, I don't want all in my hands, because I did not want to like waste the money, because I didn't have a reason for it. I had a reason for just that small sum. And she said, okay, here's what we can do. We can create a sinking fund for you. We can put that half into the sinking fund and give you what it is that you do need, and then you could put that money in there, or put $100 in there every single month until you pay off that loan. I did that for 2 years. It was a 2-year payout loan, and at the end of the loan, I got back the deposit that I put in there from the loan that I took, and also what I saved in there. And that was the starting point of my financial literacy journey. I was 26 years old. I remember that clearly. It was at that moment that I realized, oh, I need to probably either increase my income or I need to cut back on some expenses. And I did that for 5 years, cut back on expenses, my income increased as well. And I got really excited during that time for like understanding finances. And from that point, I learned how to manage my money better, not just a budget, but like really making sure that I track my budget, I track my expenses, I see where I'm spending more than I should, where I could save more, etc. And I got a credit card from there. And my fear around debt lessened. I used to have an aversion to it, but my fear around it like really went down, and I don't fear it anymore because I know now that I will always have money. I will always make money. I will always learn how to increase my income at every single point and every single stage in my life. And as a result of that, I have invested in companies. I have saved more. I have increased my income. And it was just because like understand that little thing, not just the quick cash grab, but like going deep into finances. So my budget is not like a very basic budget template. I have graphs in there. I have a repayment map. I have a savings map. I have graphs in there. I have like data. I can look at it in color and see how things are going up and down, and I can like a dashboard. And it's exciting because I know from having that hands-on attitude towards my money, I'm not just like buying things randomly, and I'm not wasting money randomly. My purchases are always planned. I never just like spend randomly. It's always a planned thing. I align when I'm gonna do this, etc. So I know that I'm not never putting myself in a situation where I am owing somebody, or I am spending too much, or I'm not saving something for a rainy day. And yes, there is such a thing as a rainy day. But if you are not learning about finances right now, now might be a great time to do that. Start with the basics, and then like as you go along, you understand different things. So if you have a loan, understanding how to spend, how to cut back on your interest rates and etc. I'm not a financial guru at all, but I do ask a lot of questions. So learn that from your early 20s if you ask in your 20s. And if you're not, that's okay. Now is a good time to like course correct. Never too late to do anything. Never ever too late to change your direction and to course correct your life. The last thing that I wish I did in my 20s more often was to travel more. Now, this one is kind of like a tricky thing because in my 20s, I really could not afford to travel, and that's okay. I don't blame myself on that, but I do wish that I learned how to make more money in my 20s earlier, so that I can give myself that opportunities to travel more and to have more experiences. So in my 30s, my late 20s was when I started to actually do research and plan my big trips as best as I can. So when I did my first transatlantic flight, I had a full-on spreadsheet. I planned out everything. I did all the research, how much it was going to cost me, etc., so that I knew that I would get the best out of my spend, out of my money, and not just like take a random trip. And again, in that phase of my life, I was still a little bit timid. I was very timid. I was very reserved. I was not super open as I am right now. I was not confident at all, like at all. I was like a wallflower. So in that stage of my life, even if I did have the money, I still probably would not have gone, like experienced it more, if I didn't have someone to go with me. But now that I'm in my 30s, I am like full on, let's go. Really, really excited for that. So if you do have the opportunity to travel in your 20s, when you are able to do that in terms of like the energy levels, based on what type of environment you like to go to. If you're in your 20s and you have the ability to do that with a friend that you're really close with, and you just want to like explore the world, do it right now. You will always, and that's the one thing that I will this is the one thing that I wish that I knew very, very early on, is that whatever income that you spend, whatever money that you spend, you will always replace it. It will always be replaced. You will always receive more of that. And that is now my new motto. I don't spend out of fear. I don't spend out of oh my god, I'm wasting my money, or you see the money go from up here to down there on the savings account. but I know for a fact that it's always going to be replaced. It's always going to be replenished. And that to me is just motivation to do the things that I want to do, to experience what I want to experience. And if you do have that like lingering fear to do any of those things, just remember that money is something that is always going to be created all the time. It is like infinite. You can never run out of it. You probably will be at a point where you might be a little bit not as good as you would like to, but you will always grow it back, and that's a fact. So that's it for this video. So remember that, if you're in your 20s or your 30s, or you're entering a new chapter, this decade of your life is the best time to do those things that you wish that you didn't have an opportunity to do at that time. Enjoy life. Enjoy life. There are so many young persons who are not having the opportunity to actually experience this full life, and it's a privilege to be in this space, to be in this point, to be on this earth, and you want to make sure that you do the best that you possibly can with it and enjoy it. So if you enjoyed this video, I hope you did. Give this video a thumbs up. It lets the algorithm know that this is good content and it pushes it more out there. I highly appreciate that, and thank you for making it to this end of this video. Love that. I appreciate that. If you want a freebie as a reward, click the see more option in my description box. There is an access to a free success mastery workbook, where it's basically just like a guided journal where I walk you through like 4 components that I highly advocate: mindset, goals, habits, and style, to make sure that you live your best, fanciest life. Click that link down below, access that, and if you want to see more content like this, hit the subscribe button. But also you could check out this video right there where I talk about goals, how to make sure, well, not just goals, but like how to make sure that you make 2025 your best year ever. Click that link and I'll see you over there. Peace out. Bye.